I want to address one thing here because I have some comments on the short-term rental loophole. So with the short-term rentals, the premise on the short-term rentals, and I have quite a few different scenarios here with the short-term rentals. People say, well, if you have a short-term rental, you automatically can go in and kind of have all the losses pass through to your return, almost like you would be a real estate professional. Well, yes or no? And do you guys want me to be very honest? Here, do I have your permission to be very honest? Yeah. Okay. So nobody's telling you. So the social media, like, and probably I'm guilty of it too. Like social media is always trying to portray you the great and the greatest. It's not giving you the ugly and the ugliest. Okay. But a short-term rental could act. I'll give you like a very, short synopsis of how do you think about short-term rental. You have to assess it from the same standpoint as the real estate professional. What am I going to do with that short-term rental? Okay, so let's say to qualify as a short-term rental, I have to have an average stay of less than 7 days. Okay, we planned that. It's all in your power. You can have one stay that could be much longer, that could really, completely mess up your average stays, that you could have more or less than 7 days. But let's say you can control that and you have less than 7 days average stay for a full year. Great. But that's not it. It still requires material participation. Okay. Let's say you have like in this case, we don't need 750, we need 100 hours. And many people say, well, I spend 100 hours, I collect rent, I do this, I have a company who's doing all these things. The problem with the short-term rentals, and here's the kicker where a lot of people get kicked back from the short-term rental loophole, is because your 100 hours have to be more than anyone else. If you have one cleaner going in every 7 days cleaning your property, you're already out. So what happens if you're out? So a short-term rental, for it to give you the highest benefit, it is when the short-term rental gets treated as a business. When you actually materially participate more hours than anybody else, and you actually deliver, you actually do some services, you do some work, like you might do the cleaning, you might do the bookkeep, like the bookings, or you might come in and welcome people in and out. You might do some other things, but you have to have some services that you're doing within your short-term rental. Okay. If you're not doing that, even if you have 100 hours of material participation, it will still be treated as a long-term rental. The losses will still not pass through. So the only way your entire losses will be passing through as a business to deduct all of it is if you actually materially participate and you provide services to the short-term rental. If you hire a management company that does all your booking for you, you have a cleaner that comes and cleans, you managing all these people is not going to get you there. So a lot of people are buying short-term rentals thinking, okay, this is the greatest and the greatest, which it could be if you're planning it and you are actually, doing all the things as you're supposed to do. Because that's the catch. People don't know. And then it goes out. You go file your return and say, well, it's not a qualified short-term rental. It still goes on your Schedule E. It cannot be a business. Plus, one of the issues with that is the minute that you have a short-term rental, the depreciation, kicks you from 27 years to 39 years. So a lot of people miss that. So if you have long-term rentals, okay, so long-term rentals, you depreciate them as 27.5 years, right? So the IRS has like, it's this arbitrary number that got picked as how long could you depreciate, right? Or recuperate the cost of you purchasing that building. So when you buy this property, long-term rental, if it's a residential, right? Long-term rental, it's going to be 27. The minute that you put it as a short-term rental and it's less than 7 days, it classifies now you're like a hotel. You get treated as a commercial building, and the commercial building you recoup the cost in 39 years. So make sure you know the rules and don't just fall prey into, okay, it's very hot. Short-term rentals have been very hot for a while now, but we see some damages done by short-term rentals to people who have not understood how short-term rentals play long term.